My brother picked me up from work one night. It was a Friday night. We were getting ready to hit the clubs and meet some friends. To hype us up, he cranked up the volume and turned on the bass in the car. We were dancing and being really rowdy. The next thing I knew, red and blue lights were flashing behind us from a really far distance. My brother saw it too, so he lowered the sound and hit the gas to get us away from the cops. Within a blink of an eye, the police car caught up to us already. He pulled us over for loud music. I was too afraid of hearing a lecture from my parents that I didn't pay attention to the cop. My brother was swearing the entire time. For sure, my parents were going to take away our driving privileges that night. We didn't go out that night. We kept us away from my parents. I worked my butt off to pay for that ticket. That Friday, when I got my paycheck, we headed right away to the courthouse to pay for the ticket. When we got there to the front desk, the lady said we could pay for it with her. I was pulling out money to pay for the ticket, then suddenly, the lady was laughing. She said I didn't need to pay for it because the police officer who gave us the ticket had been dead for a long time on Lilydale Drive. She said there's a lot of people who come time to time to pay for tickets issued by this deceased officer, and she still gets amused from it. This is Lilydale in the Twin Cities, Minnesota area. Has anyone heard about this or had any experiences related to this officer? This happened last spring to a friend of mine. It was a Friday night, the night before my friend was about to throw his birthday party. We were all chilling at his house, casually drinking and doing a Korean barbecue. After we were done cooking and finished the drinks, they still wanted to do something, but we couldn't think of anything to do that was open late. So one of the guys suggested that we all go to Lilydale for the heck of it. Now, for those of you who don't know what Lilydale is located in Minnesota. It's known as one of the most haunted places where scary things would happen to you at night if you aren't careful or smart. Anyways, since the guys all agreed to it, us girls decided to tag along too since we were more of the sober ones. We ended up taking 2 cars that night. However, because everyone wanted to go there and there were 11 of us, we forced his older sister to go. Now, the thing about Lilydale at night is, when you go there, you have to go in even numbers. Go even, come back even. Go odd, you come back even. That's why we forced his older sister to go with us. So now, there were 12 of us, meaning 6 people in each car. I was in the second car that followed our friend's car. As we were entering into Lilydale, I was already getting goosebumps. I kept holding on to my boyfriend's arm. I was really scared. Anyways, we followed their trail, and for some apparent reason, my friend was driving really slow. We didn't want to call her to tell her to speed it up because we were thinking that maybe the ghosts would hear it. So we made our way through Lilydale. We made small talk that would distract our minds from it. Throughout the whole ride, it felt like we were just going slower and slower. And I wasn't the only one that thought this. Everyone else in the car agreed. As we continued following our slow-driving friend, one of my friends in the car made a joke about how it would be funny if the car we were following wasn't our friend's car, and that it was the cop car. Another thing that has been told at Lilydale was that there's this cop who drove into the river that was right next to the little road we were taking. It said that people have been pulled over by this cop and given a ticket. But when they go in to pay for their so-called ticket, they're always told that that officer died a long time ago. That was what my friend was joking about. We all got so scared that everyone in the back got closer to each other. Then, all of a sudden, my friend's car in front of us sped up super fast. Scared, we decided to speed up too. Finally, when we finished driving through the road, we saw our friend's car parked to the side of the road. We stopped right behind her, and everyone got out. My friend that was driving the car that I was in started complaining to my friend driving the other car about how slow he was driving. He had a confused look on his face and said that he drove super slow because he could barely see our car and our light was far from their view. My friend then said that it wasn't possible because we were right behind him the whole time, almost as if we were tailgating him. We knew something was definitely wrong. All of a sudden, the birthday boy pointed out that he saw something white back down the road. It looked as if it was walking up the road towards our direction. Scared, we all ran back to our cars and drove back to the friend's house. When we got back, it was around 3 in the morning. No one wanted to drive back home, so we all just decided to sleep over. The next day was his big birthday party. Everyone didn't think too much about what happened the night before. We all kind of just brushed it aside. Later on that night, his house was pretty packed and everything was going good. Everyone was having a great time. I was hanging out with some of my girls when all of a sudden, I noticed this one girl who I never met before, standing by the corner of where they were playing beer pong. She looked a little too young to be at a drinking party, but then again, looks are deceiving, right? Her hair was black and curled, and she was wearing almost everything white. The only thing I didn't get was, it was springtime, yet she was wearing a white scarf. I kept looking at her, but didn't pay too much attention to her. Then the birthday boy made a small speech and was going to pour out shots of his drink. When he came to me, I guess he noticed that one girl standing in the corner too, and he asked me if I knew her, but I said no. Confused, he told me that it was weird because it seemed like no one knew her. He was planning to go hit on her, but he wasn't sure who she was. I then just told him to go ask her for himself. I guess he did because I saw them talking and enjoying themselves. After a while of them talking, he came back to me and told me that she smelled real bad. I, however, didn't smell anything. I did notice that he was wearing her scarf. I told him he was just drunk, but at the same time, he had this worried look on his face. I was going to go to where my boyfriend was at when suddenly I noticed that the same girl was following my friend, the birthday boy, but she was super close to him. I don't think he noticed her at all. The party lasted until 2 a.m. that night. Everyone was leaving, and some of us stayed behind just to chill. However, we all noticed that same girl that no one knew. She seemed very lost. She was just minding her own business, touching her phone. I asked her if she needed a ride home, and she said that she was trying to get in touch with her sister. Curious, I asked her who she came with. At that moment, her phone rang and she picked up, ignoring my answer. I found that rude, but I didn't think too much of it. It was almost 3 and she still didn't go home yet, so 2 of our friends decided to take her home. One of the girls went with them just in case. When they came back, the next thing my friend told me was what creeped me out the most. She told us that the girl lived near the cemetery by Dale Street. She said that the whole time they were in the car, it seemed like it was hours until they got to her house. The odd thing was, she didn't want them to drop her off in front of the house, but a block away because, apparently, her parents would see the car if she was to knock on the door. So they respected her decision, but slowly followed her just to make sure she got home safely. Then my friend told us that a cat suddenly ran in front of the car and made them brake really hard. By the time they were driving again, and they looked up, the girl was gone. On the way back, she said that they smelled something rotten in the car. We all knew what everyone was thinking, but no one wanted to say anything. It was especially strange because no one knew that girl. Again, like usual, we just brushed it off. The next day, my guy friend who slept over told us that our friend, the birthday boy, woke up scared as heck and told his mom of his dream. He told us that in his dream, the same girl who was wearing all white kept following him and kept trying to lick him, but he kept pushing her away. He said that the girl got mad and grabbed his hand and would not let go. She kept telling him that he was hers now, and she wasn't going to let go no matter how hard he tried to pull away from her. Then he grabbed her scarf, but once he did, her head came off and started to chase him and bit his arm. He woke up that morning with red marks on his arm and a bite mark. A few nights after that, he kept continuing to get sat on. They had to Oneng to see what was going on, and they wanted all of us there. The shaman lady said that the night we went to Lilydale, something followed us back. She said that when the birthday boy pointed out that he saw something white down the road, it was the girl. And because it was the birthday boy, she knew exactly where we were going to be, so she followed us there. The rotten smell was actually her smell, and the only reason why he had that dream was because he was playing with her scarf and had her scarf on him. They had to do this shaman thing to get her to leave him alone. They even had to change his name so that she wouldn't know him anymore. Then they went back to Lilydale and burnt some joss paper. All of this we also had to attend as well. It was really creepy, and I still get the chills whenever I think about it. But now, after everything that's happened and taken care of, things are okay again. And ever since then, we never went to Lilydale or near the Dale Cemetery ever again. I went to Minnesota this past weekend for a friend's mother's funeral. It's my first time in Minnesota. I've heard all the ghost stories in the community, but I didn't think much of it. They say that little kids mostly see ghosts because their perspective on imagination and reality hasn't developed yet. With all that said, I'm here chilling in the dining room by the wall sipping on my coffee, and I see a little girl, no older than 3, running around. She runs around the tables and walks up into a dark, empty room. Looking through the glass window, she waves and says, "Hi, Grandma." And I was like, what the hell? She keeps waving and saying, "Hi," numerous times, and runs away. I slowly walk up to the window and look at what's inside, but all I see is darkness. A little later, I found out that the little girl is the granddaughter of the mother that passed away. So I looked at my uncles and told them what I saw, and we all booked it. We all took off to Hmong village and ate our fears away. So my friend Dang told me this story a while back about camping. During a hot summer in Minnesota, my friend Dang went camping with a group of friends. I don't remember how many days they slept at the campsite, but it happened on the very last night. On the last night, Dang and his friends sat around the campfire telling scary stories. Dang sat by the woods, therefore he had his back facing against the woods. As scary stories were being shared among the group, Dang felt a cold breeze hitting him from behind. He turned back and looked, but there was nothing but trees. He thought to himself, oh, maybe it's just a little wind, so he shook it off. Sitting across the campfire, opposite from where Dang was sitting, is one of Dang's good friend. As Dang made eye contact with his friend from across the campfire, Dang sensed that something wasn't right. Dang's friend looked pale and scared. Later on that night, when everybody was getting ready for bed, he asked his friend why did he look so pale and so scared during the campfire. All Dang's friend said was that, I'm too scared to tell you. Let's wait until tomorrow morning. And with that, the pair headed to bed. The next morning, everybody was packing their stuff and getting ready to leave. Dang decided to ask his friend one more time. Then, his friend told him of the terrifying truth of what happened. Yesterday night, during their storytime session, his friend saw a lady limping out in the woods coming towards Dang. She had black fuzzy hair and was wearing a white dress. As the lady approached Dang's back, she bent over and stuck out her long, wet tongue and started licking Dane's head. Boo! My mom was telling us a story about her boyfriend's cousin who died in St. Paul, Minnesota, somewhere by the end of March 2013. They said that she had cancer, and the doctors were really stupid and gave her a shot that killed her instantly. Right now, they are currently suing the hospital. But anyways, let's get to the scary parts. Ever since she passed away, they performed a funeral for her, and every time that they put her in the coffin, she keeps waking up and looking at people. One time, she woke up and looked straight at her mom. Her mother got really terrified, obviously, and told her to stop scaring them and to go back because once you're dead, you are dead. And with that, the daughter went back into her coffin and went back to being dead. Then, after a day or two, her family saw her peeking in the window and heard her drag her feet by the kitchen. And with this, the deceased daughter would peer into their kitchen from the window. The two youngest daughter would say that they could see cat eyes whenever she looked through. That cousin has been haunting them ever since. One day, the family decided to throw a party. At that party, everyone went home and there were no kids there because it was just old people celebrating, and so they decided not to bring any children to ruin their fun. A guy went outside and saw a young girl sitting with really, really long black hair. He then asked her, "What are you doing late at night? Aren't you cold? Who are your parents?" He tapped her on the shoulder. She was all dusty and he wiped his hands. He then went back inside and asked everybody, "Whose kid is it outside? Why didn't you guys let her in?" Then the people asked, "What? What kid? We didn't bring any kids." Then he took them to see. She wasn't there, and then they heard her running into the kitchen. Then her mom yelled out, "Stop coming here and scaring us." And then the girl surprisingly replied, "I miss my family too much. I want to stay with them forever." And her mother replied coldly, "You are dead. Go away." This event happened a very, 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 very long time ago, and I haven't heard anything else since, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. In November of 2008, during the Minnesota New Year's week, I was 14 years old. My cousins and I were playing hide and seek at 12 midnight while my mom was sewing Hmong clothes for my sisters and I. While we were playing hide and seek in the living room, my mom decided to scare us to go to sleep by saying that if we don't go to sleep, then our grandpa will come to haunt us. Our grandpa passed away a long time ago when the war happened. So we as children all got scared, and I asked my cousins if they wanted to go sleep upstairs with me. I shared a room with my older sister, and we had the master bedroom. All of us decided to go upstairs together, but when I turned back down, everyone already left back downstairs. I was scared, but I knew my older sister was sleeping in the room, so I tried to get rid of all these scary things running in my mind. Before I go to sleep, I always wake up my older sister, and then I'll go to sleep. When I got to the room, I saw my sister's hair, and she was facing towards the closet covered with a blanket. I didn't get a good look at her face if she was sleeping, but I could hear her breathing. I went and lay down in my bed. We both had our own separate queen-sized beds. I didn't know why I was scared to wake her up, and I thought that if I woke her up, she would probably beat me up. Before I left to go back downstairs to the living room, I left the lights on and the door open so that she would wake up. When I got downstairs and sat down on the sofa with my cousins, my older sister came out from the office room. I asked her, "Weren't you just sleeping upstairs?" And then she told me that she was sleeping in the office room the whole time. This got me really scared, and I wondered if I really saw my sister sleeping upstairs. My sister decided to go upstairs and check it out. She came back downstairs and told me that there was nothing upstairs. Then I froze, and I thought really hard if I actually saw it, or if my brain was just playing tricks on me because I swore I heard breathing. A couple of months passed by, and my grandmother had passed away. My mother told me that night when I had my experience, it was perhaps a sign that our grandma was not going to live long. That year, it wasn't just me seeing things. My older sister also experienced things too. I don't remember how her story went, but her encounter with my grandma and her spirit made her feel very scared and sad. Every time when she talks about it, she'll get scared and cry.